Jonathan Haidt destroys the social sciences and humanities. Bret Weinstein didn't deserve what happened at Evergreen University. There have been several studies that have explored the issue of intellectual diversity in the social sciences and humanities. Well, the verdict is in and it doesn't exist. There is no intellectual diversity. In the pursuit of diversity, inclusion, and equity, the education system is destroying itself. Conservatives and libertarians are marginalized and castigated on college campuses. One study conducted by the Heterodox Academy, a group of scholars concerned with increasing intellectual diversity in the academy, found that self-reported political ideology was highly skewed to the left in many disciplines within the social sciences and humanities. For example, in sociology, the study found that over 70% of faculty members self-identified as liberal or far left. Another study by the National Association of Scholars found that the proportion of faculty members who identified as conservative or Republican was extremely low overall, but lower in the social sciences and humanities compared to the natural sciences, engineering, and mathematics. Here is a list of some of the biggest criticisms from Jonathan Haidt on the humanities and social sciences. 1. Lack of intellectual diversity. Haidt has criticized the social sciences and humanities for lacking diversity of thought and opinions, leading to a lack of robust debate and a tendency towards groupthink. 2. Political bias. Haidt has argued that there is a strong left-leaning political bias in many fields within the humanities and social sciences, which can limit the scope of inquiry and limit the ability of researchers to objectively assess certain topics. 3. Reliance on postmodernism. Haidt has criticized the use of postmodernist thought in many humanities and social sciences disciplines, arguing that it often leads to a rejection of empirical evidence and a focus on subjective interpretations of reality. 4. Fragmentation of disciplines. Haidt has criticized the tendency for disciplines within the humanities and social sciences to become too specialized and disconnected from one another, which can lead to a lack of interdisciplinary collaboration and an inability to address complex social issues. 5. Lack of scientific rigor. Haidt has argued that many fields within the humanities and social sciences lack the scientific rigor and empirical evidence-based approach of the natural sciences, which can limit the ability of these fields to make meaningful contributions to our understanding of human behavior and society. Jonathan Haidt has mentioned several statistics in his work that pertain to the lack of intellectual diversity in the social sciences and humanities. The Coddling of the American Mind: How Good Intentions and Bad Ideas Are Setting Up a Generation for Failure is a book written by Jonathan Haidt and Greg Lukianoff. The book critiques the ways in which recent trends in American higher education, such as an increased focus on safety and emotional well-being, are negatively impacting students' psychological and intellectual development. Here are some of the main points of the book. 1. The Three Great Untruths. The authors argue that there are three untruths that are prevalent in American culture and are particularly damaging to students. 1. Fragility is a virtue. 2. Life is a battle between good people and evil people. And 3. What doesn't kill you makes you weaker. 2. The harm of safetyism. The authors critique the trend towards safetyism in American higher education, arguing that excessive focus on safety and emotional well-being is preventing students from developing resilience, independence, and the ability to handle challenges and adversity. 3. The value of discomfort. The authors argue that discomfort, especially in the form of intellectual challenge, is an essential part of growth and development. They claim that the current trend towards safe spaces and censorship in American higher education is stifling free speech and intellectual inquiry, and preventing students from developing critical thinking skills. 4. The need for intellectual diversity. The authors emphasize the importance of exposure to diverse perspectives and ideas, and argue that the lack of intellectual diversity in American higher education is limiting students' ability to learn and grow. 5. The benefits of engaging with controversial issues. The authors argue that engaging with controversial and divisive issues is an essential part of intellectual and personal development, and that avoiding these issues out of fear of offense or emotional harm is counterproductive. In the book Coddling of the American Mind, the authors discuss the unfortunate situation at Evergreen University where Bret Weinstein, a biology professor, was kicked out for showing up to work. The college had a No White People Day where white people were not supposed to show up to campus, yet the absolute rebel chose to go anyways. Bret Weinstein became the center of a controversy at Evergreen in 2017. The events that took place can be summarized as follows. 1. Protesters claimed they were marching against racism when in reality they were promoting it. In the spring of 2017, students at Evergreen State College held protests against what they perceived as systemic racism at the college. The protests were sparked by a call for white students to stay off campus for a day of demonstrations and activities organized by students of color. 2. Controversy over Brett Weinstein. Brett Weinstein publicly opposed the demonstration, arguing that it was discriminatory towards white students and violated principles of free speech. This sparked a wave of protests and confrontations on campus, with some students calling for Weinstein to be fired. 3. Escalation of tensions. Tensions on campus continued to escalate, with students occupying the college's administration building and making demands of the college administration. The college was forced to close for several days due to safety concerns. 4. Weinstein's departure. Brett Weinstein eventually reached a settlement with Evergreen State College and resigned from his position as a professor. He has since been a prominent critic of the events at Evergreen State College and the broader trend of what he describes as an intolerance of free speech and intellectual diversity on college campuses. The events at Evergreen State College were more than just controversial, they were the nail in the coffin for any idea that free speech and intellectual diversity might still exist in American higher education. The events prove colleges are out to create the equivalent of Mussolini's brown shirts or Mao's Red Guard while claiming to voice support for disadvantaged individuals. The leftists don't have empathy, they feign support for their minority mascots while parading around supporting ideologies that should be dead and buried by now. Thank God I have seen some statistics suggesting less Americans are going into the humanities and social sciences. Get a major that gets you a job, especially if you're paying an arm and a leg for it. You can always continue learning on your own time.